Hey guys, it's me, Seren. So it's Tuesday. I'm probably not going to get this video up until Wednesday. This is going to be a video on Chris Brown, as I'm sure y'all could tell by the title. It's Tuesday. I'm probably not going to be able to get this video up until Wednesday, and by the time this video comes out Wednesday, there will probably be more information and stuff on what, is happening with this situation. But I wanted to make this video because what I wanted to say doesn't really 100% revolve around, like, the specifics of this situation. So let's just dive right in. So, kind of like in the afternoon today, Chris Brown started trending, and everybody knew it was going to be for some fucking fuck shit, because Chris Brown is a fuck nigga, which, FYI, I do not say fuck boy. I don't like the term fuck boy at all. I actually kind of hate that term, and the reason why is because I feel like fuck nigga is a really, really specific cultural term to black people, and I feel like fuck boy makes it way too accessible for white people, and I see that, and I see don't be a fuck boy on, coasters and t-shirts and bags, and it just really makes me uncomfortable. I don't say fuck boy, I say fuck nigga. So he was on that fuck ass nigga shit. He's a fuck ass hoe ass nigga, and no one was surprised when his name started trending for some fuck shit. So initially, the story was that Chris Brown was in this standoff with the LAPD, and he threw fucking a duffel bag full of guns and drugs out the window, which I thought was, again, perfectly believable because he is a fuck nigga. More than a few years now. 8 years ago, maybe, he, threw a chair out the window at Good Morning America, and, like, Chris Brown be on some other shit. Like, the dude is a fucking scumbag. Like, we all know he laid hands on Rihanna. We all know, I personally think he also laid hands on Karrueche. We all know that they were in a real toxic, abusive relationship. Even if it wasn't physically abusive, it was definitely emotionally abusive between him and Kay. And we saw he would very physically intimidate her out in public places after she broke up with him and all this other stuff. So no one was surprised to hear that he was in some type of standoff with police and that he threw a duffel bag out the window. And finally, after hours of a standoff, of a confrontation, he was arrested. So that was the initial story that was ran by TMZ. Later on, additional details started coming out. None of this has been confirmed. Really, none of this has been confirmed except that he was arrested after a standoff. But details started coming out saying that what actually happened was that a white female fan showed up at his house, unannounced, uninvited. She found out where he lived. She showed up at his house. Some people are saying that she knows his daughter's mother. Some people are saying not, so take that with a grain of salt. But these details started emerging saying that this white female fan showed up at his house, uninvited, unannounced, demanding autographs, that he said no, and so she called the cops, the LAPD, and said, I'm at Chris Brown's house, and he just pulled a gun on me, and the LAPD sent a SWAT team that stormed his house without a warrant and illegally searched his home and seized him, right? And so then that was kind of some additional stuff that happened. So then there was some interesting stuff kind of swirling around race. This white woman shows up at his house unannounced, and she demands an autograph, and he says no, and so she makes this false, call to the police saying that he pointed a gun at her, which was not true, and they sent, cops in riot gear, and they stormed his house without a warrant, all of which is illegal. Which I also want to say, a lot of people don't seem to know that making a false report to the cops is illegal. That is illegal. We have not seen anyone get arrested for that. In the case of John Crawford or Tamir Rice, or, we haven't seen anyone get arrested for that, but that is actually illegal. Making a false report to the cops is illegal. If they did send police to search his house without a warrant, that was also illegal. You have certain rights as an American citizen in this country, in your home. That's the way that goes. So we started having these conversations, like I said, about race and about, was this the case of police brutality, and, was this some white, woman tears Taylor Swift victim shit because she got mad that he wouldn't give her the autograph. And then he started having people that were, and is this an example of, the state responding a certain way to a black person? That person just happens to be fuck nigga supreme Chris Brown. And then you started having people that were saying, well, I don't really care. I don't really care if it was racist, racially motivated. I don't really care if the police did illegally, search and seize his property. And I don't really care if this white woman was making a false complaint against this black man because it's Chris Brown. and Chris Brown is an abuser, and Chris Brown is a fuck nigga, and I don't like Chris Brown, so I don't really give a shit if Chris Brown was possibly a victim of a racist, white supremacist police state. I don't care. I really don't care. Like, I literally saw people say literally those words, like, well, I don't care. I don't care, and I hope he rots in a jail cell. And I was just like, this dialogue is making me very uncomfortable. This dialogue is making me very uncomfortable. So I actually sent out a tweet. I'm going to read a lot of tweets probably in this video. I said, Chris Brown is your resident scumbag. Like, yes, let me make that clear. Chris Brown is your resident scumbag, but he's your resident black scumbag, which means he can still be victimized by racist systems. Like, and then I went on to say, I saw a convo about how even if this was racially motivated and or police brutality, they don't care and they don't want Chris Brown associated with Black Lives Matter. Another person replied with, but he's a black life. Person A said, yeah, but we don't want that type of person associated with Black Lives Matter. And I like cringed because you guys know that I hate, number one, I hate respectability politics. I hate respectability politics. I hate the idea of a person that we don't like, their life doesn't matter. Their life doesn't matter because we don't like them. And that includes shit like people like Chris Brown, you know? If Black Lives Matter and we believe Black Lives Matter, we gotta believe that Black Lives matter. We have to believe that Black Lives matter. And that includes the drug dealers, that includes the murderers, that includes the abusers. Like, for me, freedom and getting free from this oppressive system means that, for example, someone like Chris Brown would be in jail right now. They would be in prison right now for abusing women. They would be in prison right now for putting hands on women. They would be in prison right now for abusing illegal drugs and other substances. They would be in prison right now for fucking destroying property when he fucking spray painted that shit on the side of his fucking house, that fucking whatever that shit was that he put, you know. But they would not be in jail. They will not be in prison because a white woman falsely made a claim against them that resulted in a racist police state illegally raiding their home and putting them in jail. There's a difference. There's a difference. Freedom, to me, means that black scumbags fucking still get their day in court, just like white fucking scumbags. Like, black scumbags still have a right to a lawyer, just like white fucking scumbags. I know y'all seen Law and Order. Like, people still have rights, even if they're fucking horrible, shitty excuses for human beings. People still have rights, and black people especially still have rights. We can't only be fighting for black lives that fit within a certain parameter, because then you have people that say, like, oh, well, Mike Brown was an abuser. Mike Brown strong-armed a store clerk, which we all saw on video. He shoved the shit out of that dude. Like, you know, well, so who cares? Who cares if Mike Brown got killed? Or, you know, who cares? It, you know, just like we saw them, oh, Sandra Bland, she talked back. She couldn't keep her fucking mouth shut, you know? It's a slippery slope. It is a very slippery slope to start quantifying who we want to take with us to get free and who we don't. Because if it was up to me, a lot of y'all motherfucking faves would be getting left behind when the rapture comes and we get free, like motherfucking Kendrick Lamar. Like, you know, but I'm fighting for Kendrick Lamar too. Like, I'm fighting for the people that fucking are in the prisons right now too, that, you know, that they're in prison because they had their day in court, they were tried by a jury of their peers, they had a fair trial, they were found guilty, and they fucking went to jail. That is also a form of freedom, not literal freedom, because obviously they're going to be in jail, but that is also a form of, like, freedom from oppression, from oppressive, racist, white supremacist systems. And like I said, that means that Chris Brown is in jail for being an abuser, for abusing women, for, you know, doing a variety, a fucking medley of illegal and shitty and toxic and abusive things, but not because a white supremacist system violated his rights. And you can't be okay with that. To me, that is like the definition of, like, fascism. Like, you're okay with it because, you know, you're okay with this oppressive system catching this person because you don't like that person. Even if I don't fucking like you. Even if I think you're the fucking devil. Even if you're a fucking murderer. You still have certain rights. And I truly believe that. I believe that. I believe that in my heart. And to me, that is a part of freedom. That's a part of what we're fighting for. We're fighting to get free from oppressive systems. And like I said, it's also a very slippery slope once you start quantifying who's coming along on the ride to get free and who's not. So I'm going to read you guys some more tweets. I put whispers, black people getting free means Chris Brown goes to jail for putting hands on women, but not that he goes to jail because a white woman falsely accused him of pulling a gun on her. It's not that hard to understand. I said, y'all can't decide you like a racist system because this time it targeted a black scumbag. That's not how this works. I'm going to read that again. Whispers, because I said whispers. Black people getting free means Chris Brown goes to jail for putting hands on women, yes, but not that he goes to jail because a white woman falsely accused him of pulling a gun on her. Y'all can't decide you like a racist system because this time it targeted a black scumbag. That's not how this works. And I'm consistent because I said the same thing in my Bill Cosby video. I think that Bill Cosby is a motherfucking serial rapist. I do. But at the same time, I also think that he got a Negro wake-up call and he was treated a certain way in the media because he's black. I also think that. I'm able to think both, which I also want to get into a little bit. I'm able to think both, and I hate this idea that you have to think laterally, that you have to think one way all the time. Like, think all different types of ways. Like, think largely, think critically, think with nuance. You're allowed to have layers of thoughts. You're allowed to think that possibly, you know, Bill Cosby was given a Negro wake-up call because he's black, and also believe that he is a fucking serial rapist, and be happy that, you know, well, he was never charged or arrested because of statute of limitations, but, you know, be happy that all this came to light, but you can still feel like he was treated a certain way because he's black. That doesn't mean you think he's innocent. That doesn't, you know, that doesn't mean anything, but a lot of the times people think, like, so, like, small, like, as if, you know, it's either this or that. It's either one thing or the other. They cannot think with complexity. They cannot think with nuance. And I really, 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 really hate that. Like, I hate that so much. I can think that fucking title was fucking pretentious as shit and overpriced and, you know, all the things that I said about title in my title videos. And I can also think that the fucking media gleefully ripping title to shreds had a racist undertone. I can think both things. I can walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. I can also care about fucking interracial crime amongst black people and police brutality. My mind works in more than one way, and I wish that we would, like, get out of this belief that, like, our minds can only work in one way and we can only think in a certain way, and if we're not thinking in that certain way, then, like, we're doing something wrong, or we're trying to defend rapists and abusers, like, because, like, think largely, like, think big. Like, think in different ways, explore different avenues, come up with different types of critical thought and opinions, ask questions, and formulate an opinion. I got off a little bit there, but I'm going to read you guys some tweets. So, Black Amazon put a whole series of really amazing tweets, so I'm going to read you guys the whole thing. She started with, I cannot believe that I'm about to say what I'm about to say. And she said, I want Chris Brown to enjoy every single piece of gain we get towards honoring the rights and humanity of black people in an unjust system. Wanting to hand out personal lateral violence or wanting justice for his victims is not the same as colluding with his systemic oppression. This isn't actually hard, it's uncomfortable, and I don't want to, and I dislike him and the societal factors that allow his fuckery, but if I want all people to be afforded their full autonomy, it includes Chris Brown, full stop. And that's really important because this is something that's very uncomfortable, and it's uncomfortable for a lot of people because, like I said, we are kind of trained to, like, think in this one direction, and so it kind of feels like, well, if I say that, you know, this maybe was possibly racially motivated, like, I'm going to get accused of, like, caping for Chris Brown or something like that. And it's like, no, you just want autonomy for all people. You want autonomy for all people. You want all people, but y'all know I'm talking about black people, you know, to be afforded their full civil rights. And when you say all people, that means all people. That means all people. Right? When you say all Black Lives Matter, that means all the Black Lives Matter. All of the Black Lives Matter. All of them. All of them. Not just the ones you like or feel comfortable with, or the ones that are, you know, respectable, or you know, it means all of them. It means all of them. Someone's personal autonomy and boundaries should not be subject to structural oppression because of personal dislike. We all get there together or we don't get there at all. And then someone replied and said he gets the same rights that awful white guys are entitled to, which is the same thing that I said. Black scumbags need to be afforded the same rights as fucking white scumbags. And that's part of what I'm fighting for and fighting to get free. But clearly you have a lot of people that are not fighting to get free, that are not interested in really getting free, as I've said before. They just want to move up their respective notch on the totem pole. They want freedom for their, whatever their personal identity is. Like I've talked about before, how identity operates on sliding scales. Chris Brown has an identity as a fucking toxic abuser, yes. Chris Brown has an identity as a fuck nigga, yes. Chris Brown has an identity as a person that should most likely be in jail right now, yes. But Chris Brown also has an identity as a black person in a racist, white supremacist police state, He also has an identity as a black person in an oppressive system. He also has that identity as well. And so if you're fighting for the full rights and freedom and autonomy of black and brown bodies in this system that includes Chris Brown, I'm sorry that I have to be the one to tell you. I'm sorry. And then Black Amazon said, I just defended Chris Brown as part of the endemic anti-blackness of the state. I'm extra froggy right now. Like, this shit is wild. And then I said, and then last thing I want to tweet, last thing I want to read, Black people getting free means we all get free, even the scumbags. I'm sorry if you don't want to hear that, but scumbags are entitled to their day in court, their autonomy, a lawyer, they have rights. They have gun rights if they're legally able to own a firearm. They have rights in their home. They have rights just like white fucking scumbags. And if you want to start talking about, like, vigilante justice or the idea of, they didn't get Chris Brown on one thing, so it's fine that they got him on something else. That's different, and that means that we're no longer talking about the system as it, sits in place now. We're kind of talking about something else. But, we all have rights. We all have rights. Even the people you don't like, even the murderers, even the drug addicts. And again, it is a slippery slope once you start quantifying who deserves to get free and who doesn't, who you care about and who you don't care about. Oh, well, I don't care because, somebody could say that same exact thing about you. They don't care about you because, whatever reason. Either we all going to get free or none of us going to get free. And I think that's really important. And that's just really the message of this video. And I know it's going to be a lot of people pissed off about this video. And I really, really don't give a fuck. 2016 year, really not giving a fuck about any of y'all. But like I said, just try to think. Try to think. Laterally means situated at, proceeding from, or directed to a side. One side, a lateral view. So many people feel like they can only view things laterally in this one way. Try not to think laterally. Try to, send your brain in all different directions and thinking about all different things, and all different concepts and all different types of ways of thinking. And again, ask lots of questions. So many people just make assumptions like, oh, well, you mean this. Well, number one, that's not what I said. If I didn't say those words, that's not what I said. And number two, if you want to know what I thought or what I meant, you can feel free to ask me, ask questions. Figure out what people mean, have conversations. Don't just think laterally in this one way and think that oh well, you're saying that Chris Brown has an identity as a black person in a white police state, so that means that you're absolving him of his abusive history. What? No. Oh, you know what? There's actually a couple more tweets that I did want to read you guys that related to that specifically. Hold on. Honestly, certain black Twitter accounts are torn on Breezy right now. They hate him as an abuser, but hate the racism that fucking Becky can cry and the Army Police Brigade shows up. To a lot of the popular black Twitter crowd, Breezy is persona non grata, but they know these events are bullshit. Becky run into TMZ, the cops send a brigade after him, try to bum rush with no warrant, very fishy circumstances. And I wrote back, I said, you can hate him as an abuser and admit that this is weird as fuck. I was like, what is there to be torn on? We're all allowed layers of thought. You are allowed layers of thought. You don't have to think laterally. You don't have to think one way. One more tweet I want to read. which is from Ultimate Negro, powerful niggatry at work. She put, when you want Chris Brown to burn in hell for being an abuser, but you still gotta defend his blackness. And then she put that meme with the little girl that's making this face, like these are hard choices. They're uncomfortable. They're hard choices. Nobody wants to make the hard choices. It would be wonderful if all we had to do was defend the blackness of, angels and saints. But unfortunately, that's not the way that it works. Sorry. You can hate him as an abuser and admit that this is weird as fuck. You don't have to concede one for the other. All right, that's it. I know y'all about to go ham in the comments, so food for thought as always. See you guys next time. Peace.